The grand ballroom of Harrington Castle sparkled under the shimmering light of countless crystal chandeliers, each facet reflecting the opulence of the Regency era. Gilded moldings adorned the walls, while lavish tapestries told tales of valor and romance from centuries past. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and rose, mingling with the laughter and gossip of high society, who had gathered for yet another extravagant soiree. Among the crowd, Lady Isadora Pelham stood out like a flame amidst a sea of muted tones, her vibrant auburn hair cascading elegantly over her shoulders. Quick thing before we continue, I'm going to be honest with you, creating this content is a dream come true for me. But reaching 1,000 subscribers feels so far away sometimes. If these stories touch your heart too, would you help me? Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share with someone you know will love this. Every single subscription brings me closer to doing what I love and bringing you even more of these beautiful romances. Red heart alright, now let's get back to the magic. Isadora was known far and wide, not just for her striking beauty but for her spirited nature that often ruffled the feathers of the social elite. As she gracefully navigated through the throng of guests, her keen emerald eyes caught snippets of conversations. She'd destroy the royal chamber, they mocked, their laughter ringing out like a bell, echoing through the hall. Isadora felt the weight of their words, but instead of shrinking back, she straightened her spine, a defiant smile playing on her lips. The Duke of Harrington observed her from a distance, his dark eyes filled with intrigue. He had heard the whispers, the laughter, and the scorn that followed her. Yet, there was something captivating about her, the way she carried herself with such confidence, challenging the very norms that suffocated the women of their time. The Duke had his own responsibilities weighing heavily on his shoulders, yet he couldn't help but be drawn to the young woman who seemed to dance through life, unencumbered by the expectations of society. As Isadora approached a group of her peers, their laughter subsided, and their expressions turned to mockery once more. "Ah, the wild Isadora, so unrefined," one of them said, a hint of disdain lacing her tone. "What do you plan to do next, my dear? Revolutionize the court?" The others snickered, their amusement palpable. But Isadora, unfazed, replied with a wry smile, "If revolution is what it takes to bring about change, then perhaps I shall take the lead." The tension in the air was electric, sparking curiosity among the guests. The Duke stepped closer, intrigued by her boldness. "And what change would you seek to instigate, Lady Isadora?" he inquired, his voice smooth like a fine wine. She turned to him, her expression unwavering. "The kind that liberates women from the confines of their expectations. To live for ourselves, not merely to please others." There was a momentary silence, and Isadora could feel the eyes of the assembly upon them, their breaths held in anticipation. "And what if that liberation leads to chaos?" the Duke challenged, a playful glint in his eyes. "Chaos often precedes progress, Your Grace," she shot back, a spark igniting between them. The guests murmured, their interest piqued. It was rare to see a member of the nobility engage in such spirited debate, especially with a woman. As the evening wore on, the whispers grew louder, and the laughter more boisterous. The Duke's fascination with Isadora deepened, and he found himself wondering about the woman behind the reputation. What lay beneath the fiery exterior? Did she truly believe in the ideals she espoused, or was it merely a facade to provoke those around her? The night shifted, and the music began to swell, filling the ballroom with a vibrant melody. Couples began to dance, twirling under the chandeliers, lost in their own worlds. Yet, Isadora remained rooted in place, her gaze fixed on the Duke, challenging him to join her in this dance of conversation. If you are enjoying this tale of love and sacrifice, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this, she thought, though the words remained unspoken. Instead, she continued to engage the Duke, their back-and-forth dance of wit a spectacle in itself. The night wore on, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses, but for Isadora, it was not merely an evening of entertainment. It was a turning point, a moment when she could either conform to the expectations of her peers or boldly carve her own path. The question lingered in the air, heavy with possibility: would she remain the wild, untamed spirit of the evening, or would she succumb to the pressures of society that demanded her compliance? As the final notes of the waltz faded into silence, Isadora's heart raced with the thrill of the unknown. She glanced at the Duke, who seemed equally entranced by her presence. In that fleeting moment, time stood still, and the laughter of their peers faded into the background. The ballroom, once a place of mockery and judgment, transformed into a sanctuary of potential. The evening was far from over, yet the seeds of change had been planted. The Duke, intrigued by the fire within her, found himself contemplating the true meaning of duty and desire. The ball was merely the beginning, and as Isadora stood defiantly amidst the laughter, she realized that she held the power to shape her own destiny. With each passing moment, the question of her future loomed larger. Would she continue to defy, or would she become just another name in the annals of history, forgotten and subdued? The choice was hers, and with the Duke's gaze upon her, the possibilities were endless. As the evening unfolded, the Duke of Harrington found himself captivated by the fierce spirit radiating from Lady Isadora Pelham. He had always known her as the woman who defied convention, yet witnessing her tenacity firsthand was a revelation that stirred something deep within him. The ballroom was alive with laughter and music, yet amidst the festive atmosphere, an undercurrent of tension flowed, tying the two of them together in an unspoken bond. As the laughter of her peers faded, Isadora caught sight of the Duke making his way through the crowd. With each step, he seemed to command the attention of those around him, yet his gaze remained fixed on her. There was something magnetic about him, a presence that made her heart race. She had always regarded him as a man of duty, bound by the expectations of his station, but tonight, she sensed a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, as if he sought to understand the woman behind the reputation. "Lady Isadora," he drawled, his voice smooth and inviting, "I must admit, your words have intrigued me. You speak of revolution as if it were merely a dance step. What change do you envision?" Isadora met his gaze, her heart pounding with the weight of her convictions. "I envision a world where women are not mere ornaments to be displayed, but individuals with hopes and dreams. We deserve the freedom to choose our own paths, to live authentically." The Duke raised an eyebrow, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "And what if that freedom leads to chaos? Society thrives on order, Lady Isadora. One must consider the consequences of such bold aspirations." "Chaos often gives birth to progress," she countered, her spirit unwavering. "Perhaps it is time for a little disruption in this stagnant court. If we do not challenge the status quo, we resign ourselves to mediocrity." With each exchange, the atmosphere around them shifted. Guests nearby began to take notice, their attention drawn to the captivating dialogue unfolding before them. The Duke's interest only heightened as he watched her, fascinated by her fire and determination. He was a man accustomed to fulfilling the expectations placed upon him, yet here stood a woman who dared to defy them. As their conversation continued, Isadora felt a warmth blooming in her chest, a sense of camaraderie with the man who had always seemed so distant. "Do you believe that one person can truly ignite change?" he asked, leaning in slightly, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "I believe that every great movement begins with a single voice," Isadora replied passionately. "If that voice is strong enough, it can inspire others to join the cause. Look around you, Your Grace. How many of these people would stand up for what is right if only someone would lead them?" The Duke pondered her words, his expression growing thoughtful. "You make a compelling argument, Lady Isadora. Perhaps you are right. But what of your own desires? Do you not fear that in seeking to change the world, you may lose yourself in the process?" Her heart fluttered at his concern, and she took a moment to reflect. "I have lived in the shadows of others' expectations for too long. I refuse to let fear dictate my choices any longer. I want to be the master of my own fate, not a pawn in someone else's game." Their gazes locked, and for a heartbeat, the world around them faded away. The vibrant music of the ballroom became a distant echo, and all that existed was their connection, the electricity of shared dreams and unspoken hopes. It was a moment that felt both exhilarating and terrifying, and Isadora realized that the Duke was not just a man of power, but a potential ally in her quest for freedom. As the evening progressed, the laughter and chatter of the guests resumed, yet the dynamic between Isadora and the Duke had shifted irrevocably. They were no longer just a spirited young woman and a nobleman, they were two souls navigating the complexities of desire and duty, a dance of their own amidst the societal pressures that sought to bind them. If you're enjoying this tale of love and sacrifice, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Isadora thought, feeling a rush of excitement at the possibility of sharing her journey with others. Just then, a familiar voice broke through the moment. pulling Isadora from her thoughts. Her friend, Lady Evelyn, approached with a knowing smile. "There you are, Isadora. I was searching for you. The whispers around the ballroom suggest that our dear Duke has taken quite an interest in you." The Duke chuckled softly, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "It appears I am the subject of intrigue this evening as well. Perhaps we should give them something to talk about, shall we?" Isadora raised an eyebrow, intrigued by his suggestion. "And what do you propose, Your Grace?" "Let us dance," he replied smoothly, extending his hand toward her. "A dance of defiance. Let the court see that we are not merely figures to be maneuvered but individuals who refuse to be defined by others." With a sense of exhilaration coursing through her veins, Isadora placed her hand in his, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers. As they moved toward the center of the ballroom, the murmurs of curiosity followed them, but she felt no fear. Instead, she was filled with a sense of purpose. Together, they stepped onto the dance floor, the music swelling around them. As they began to move, Isadora lost herself in the rhythm, their bodies gliding effortlessly in synchrony. The laughter of their peers became a distant echo, replaced by the intoxicating thrill of the moment. Isadora had always been known for her defiance, but now, with the Duke at her side, she felt a sense of belonging. In that moment, she realized that perhaps they were both seeking to break free from the confines of their respective roles. As they spun and twirled, the world around them melted away, leaving only the two of them, a spirited woman and a man bound by duty, yet united in their desire for something more. And as the night wore on, Isadora knew that whatever lay ahead, she was ready to embrace it, with the Duke by her side and the promise of change in the air. As the vibrant sounds of the ballroom faded into a dull thrum, Isadora found herself retreating to a quieter corner of the grand hall. The laughter and glittering chatter of the high society around her felt stifling, like a weight pressing down on her chest. She could not ignore the heavy whispers that followed her, a cruel reminder of the expectations placed upon her. Lady Evelyn, her loyal friend, joined her side, concern etched on her face. "Isadora, you cannot let their words get to you," Evelyn urged, her voice gentle yet firm. "You are a force to be reckoned with, and they fear that very power." Isadora sighed, looking out at the crowd with a mix of defiance and vulnerability. "What power do I hold, Evelyn? They see me as a mere disruption, someone who would destroy the royal chamber just by being herself." Her voice trembled, revealing the cracks in her confident facade. "Then let them fear you," her friend replied with renewed resolve. "Fear can be a powerful motivator. Use it to your advantage." In that moment, Isadora's mind raced with thoughts swirling like the dresses that twirled around her. The mention of an impending marriage arrangement weighed heavily on her heart, a reality she had not yet fully accepted. With her independence at stake, the idea of becoming a bride to a man she barely knew felt like a cage closing in around her. "Do you think anyone truly cares for my heart?" Isadora asked, her eyes glistening. "Or am I just a pawn in this game of social standing?" Evelyn shook her head, her expression softening. "You are far more than that. You must remind them that you will not be bound by their expectations. You deserve to choose your own path." As they spoke, the Duke of Harrington entered the room, his presence commanding the attention of all. Isadora felt her heart quicken, a mix of admiration and frustration swirling within her. He was a man of great stature and influence, yet she couldn't help but feel that he was just as trapped by the expectations of society as she was. "Lady Isadora," he said, his voice rich and resonant as he approached her. "I hope you do not let the mockery of others distract you from the evening's festivities." Isadora straightened, a spark igniting in her spirit as she met his gaze. "Your Grace, it is a challenge to remain unbothered when one's very existence is ridiculed." A small smile crept onto his lips, and for a moment, it felt as if the air between them crackled with possibility. "You have a remarkable spirit, Lady Isadora. It is refreshing amidst this sea of conformity." "Yet even the most remarkable spirits can feel caged," she replied, a hint of vulnerability slipping through her confident exterior. "What good is it to shine brightly if the world demands we dim our light?" The Duke regarded her with a seriousness that sent a shiver through her. "It is a truth I grapple with daily. The burden of duty weighs heavily on my shoulders. But perhaps, together, we could challenge those very norms. Just then, a wave of laughter erupted from a nearby group, and Isadora felt a pang of frustration. "They will never understand," she whispered, glancing back at the mockers. "They view me as a threat. A woman who dares to voice her opinions." "It is precisely that fire within you that inspires others," he insisted, stepping closer. "You must not hide it. If anything, you should let it blaze even brighter." As the conversation deepened, Isadora realized that the Duke was not merely a figure of societal expectation, he was a man with his own struggles, perhaps even a kindred spirit. "Do you feel the weight of their expectations too, Your Grace?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "Every day," he admitted, his expression turning somber. "The pressure to conform to tradition is suffocating. I sometimes wonder if I will ever have the courage to break free." "Courage often lies in the choices we make," Isadora said, emboldened by his honesty. "If we do not choose our own paths, we risk losing ourselves completely." "Your words resonate deeply with me, Lady Isadora," the Duke replied, his eyes penetrating her soul. "What if we were to forge our own destinies together?" Her heart raced at the prospect. The idea of being allies, of standing together against the societal currents that sought to pull them apart, was tantalizing. "Can we truly defy the norms, Your Grace? Can we be more than what is expected of us?" "Perhaps we can find a way," he said, determination lining his voice. "But first, we must confront the reality that lies before us." As if summoned by fate, Lady Evelyn reappeared, her brow furrowed with concern. "Isadora," the whispers grow louder. "They say the Duke is to command your marriage before the night ends. You must prepare yourself." The floor seemed to drop from beneath Isadora's feet, leaving her breathless. "A marriage command? They cannot be serious." "Serious enough," Evelyn replied, her eyes wide with concern. "We must act quickly. Do they not see the rebellion they incite? I will not be forced into a decision that is not my own," Isadora declared, her voice rising with fervor. The Duke's gaze remained steady on her, a flicker of admiration evident. "Then we must find a way to turn the tide, Isadora. Let them see that you will not be a pawn in their game." If this emotional journey resonates with you, share it with someone who appreciates heartfelt tales. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Isadora thought, her heart racing at the thought of her own story unfolding. The tension in the air thickened as they exchanged determined glances, both aware that the choices ahead could alter the course of their lives forever. Isadora felt an unfamiliar sense of power surging within her, a resolve to reclaim her future and fight for the life she wanted. As the orchestra played a lively tune in the background, the ballroom felt charged with electricity, a harbinger of the rebellion that was about to unfold. Suddenly, Isadora understood that she was not alone. With the Duke by her side, she felt emboldened to defy the expectations that sought to confine her. Together, they would challenge the very foundation of their society, breaking free from the chains of tradition that had bound them both for far too long. The day of the wedding arrived, shrouded in a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Lady Isadora Pelham stood before the ornate mirror in her chamber, her heart racing as she examined her reflection. The delicate lace of her gown shimmered in the soft light, but it felt like a shroud rather than a garment of celebration. This was not how she had envisioned her wedding day. The thought of stepping into a life dictated by societal expectations filled her with dread. The air was thick with tension as she recalled the Duke's command, echoing in her mind like a sinister chant. "You will be married to the Duke before the night ends." The words had struck her with the force of a thunderclap, leaving her breathless. She turned away from the mirror, clenching her fists as frustration bubbled within her. The very idea of being forced into a marriage felt like a betrayal of her independence. Isadora's companion, Lady Evelyn, entered the room, her face a portrait of concern. "Isadora, you must prepare yourself. The guests are gathering, and the Duke is already at the chapel," she urged, her voice tinged with urgency. "Prepare myself for what?" Isadora retorted, her tone sharper than she intended. "To become a pawn in a game I did not choose to play?" She turned to face Evelyn, eyes blazing with defiance. "I refuse to be a mere decoration in his life." Evelyn placed a comforting hand on Isadora's shoulder. "You must remember, my dear, that the Duke is a man of honor. He does not wish to force you into anything against your will. But the weight of tradition is heavy, and the pressure from society is relentless." The mention of societal expectations made Isadora's blood boil. "Society," she exclaimed, throwing her hands up in exasperation. "They expect me to conform, to fit their mold, but I am not a piece of clay to be shaped by their hands. I will not stand for it." Evelyn sighed, her expression softening. "I understand your feelings, Isadora, but think of the consequences. This marriage could elevate your status, provide you with opportunities you never imagined. The Duke is a powerful man." Isadora shook her head vehemently. "Power can be a double-edged sword, Evelyn. I'd rather remain free and true to myself than be a gilded captive." She paused, taking a deep breath to steady her racing heart. "What if I refuse to go through with it?" "Then you will face the wrath of the Duke and the scorn of society," Evelyn replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "You could bring shame upon your family." The weight of her friend's words pressed down on her, and for a moment, Isadora felt the walls closing in. The fear of societal rejection gnawed at her insides, but the thought of losing herself in a loveless marriage was even more terrifying. With newfound resolve, she straightened her back and met Evelyn's gaze. "I must speak to the Duke. I will not marry him under duress. I will not be silenced." As they made their way to the chapel, the vibrant sounds of the ballroom filtered through the grand corridors, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within Isadora. The murmur of guests filled the air, their laughter ringing hollow in her ears. With each step closer to the chapel, Isadora's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She was acutely aware of the stares that would follow her, the whispers that would echo in her wake. When they arrived at the chapel doors, Isadora paused, feeling the enormity of the moment weigh heavily on her. The Duke was inside, awaiting her arrival, but she felt like a ghost haunting the threshold of her own existence. "What if he does not understand?" she asked, doubt creeping into her voice. "He will understand," Evelyn reassured her. "He is not the man they claim him to be. He has seen your spirit, Isadora. He values your strength." Taking a deep breath, Isadora pushed open the grand doors, revealing the chapel adorned with flowers and candles, casting a warm glow on the gathered guests. The Duke stood at the altar, his expression a mix of anticipation and concern as he caught sight of her. Isadora's heart raced. In that moment, she realized that the decision before her was not merely about marriage, it was about her very identity. As she approached the altar, she felt the weight of many eyes upon her. The whispers surged, drowning out the sound of her thoughts. She'd destroy the royal chamber, they mocked, a cacophony of judgment lacing their words. Yet, as she reached the Duke, she saw not just a man of power, but someone who might understand her struggle. "Your Grace," she began, her voice steady but soft. "I cannot go through with this ceremony unless I am certain that it is my choice, not merely a command." The Duke's brow furrowed with concern, and he stepped closer, his voice a low murmur meant only for her ears. "Isadora, you have no idea how much I admire your courage. This marriage is not merely an obligation for me, it is a partnership that I wish to forge with you. But I cannot force you into it. We can find a way together." His words, filled with sincerity, ignited a spark of hope within her. At that moment, she felt a flicker of possibility. If this emotional journey resonates with you, share it with someone who appreciates heartfelt tales. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story, she thought, her heart swelling with the realization that perhaps, just perhaps, they could rewrite their narrative together. With a deep breath, Isadora prepared to speak her truth, ready to embrace the unknown, knowing that this moment could change everything. The tension in the air was palpable, charged with the potential for rebellion, and as she opened her mouth to declare her intentions, the future awaited her answer. As the ceremony unfolded, the air thickened with an electric tension that seemed to ripple through the gathered guests. Isadora stood there, heart pounding in her chest, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. The Duke, with his commanding presence, was a striking figure at the altar, but the reality of their impending union felt like a gilded cage closing around her. In that moment, she was acutely aware of the choice she had to make, not only for herself but for the future she envisioned. As the officiant began to recite the sacred vows, Isadora's pulse quickened. Each word felt like a shackle binding her to a fate she hadn't chosen. She glanced at the Duke, who met her gaze with a mixture of anticipation and understanding. It was as if he could sense her internal struggle, and his eyes seemed to urge her to find her voice amidst the chaos of expectations swirling around them. In a moment of defiance, Isadora took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying. "Your Grace," she called out, her voice ringing clear above the murmurs that had erupted among the guests. The officiant faltered, and the room fell silent, all eyes turning to her. "I cannot go through with this," she declared, her heart racing. "Not unless it is truly my choice." Shock rippled through the audience, and Isadora could feel the weight of their judgment bearing down upon her. But in that instant, she was no longer the timid young woman they had mocked. No longer just Lady Isadora Pelham, the girl they believed would conform and submit. She was a force unto herself, and it was time to assert her truth. "I refuse to be a pawn in this game of power," she exclaimed. "If I am to marry, it must be born from love, not obligation." The Duke's expression shifted from surprise to admiration, and the corners of his mouth turned upward in a supportive smile. "Isadora, your courage is remarkable," he said quietly, stepping closer to her. "I would never wish for you to feel trapped. If this marriage is to mean anything, it must be a partnership of equals." This declaration seemed to echo throughout the chapel, a promise of mutual respect and understanding. Isadora felt a glimmer of hope ignite within her. Perhaps this wedding could be more than just a societal obligation, perhaps it could be a true union of souls. The thought made her heart swell, but she knew that first, she had to break free from the constraints of expectation. As the guests whispered among themselves, some in shock and others in admiration, Isadora stood firm. She took a step closer to the Duke, her voice steady as she continued, "I will not have my life dictated by societal norms or my family's ambitions. I seek a life filled with passion, with purpose, and with authenticity. I will not settle for less." The murmurs intensified, but from the corner of her eye, she saw Evelyn, her trusted companion, nodding in encouragement. That small gesture bolstered Isadora's confidence, and she turned back to the Duke, determined to make him understand. "Your Grace, I believe that together we can redefine what this union means. If you are willing to stand beside me as a partner, not as a master, then I will consider this marriage." The Duke's eyes widened, and for a moment, there was a stillness between them, a silent understanding that transcended words. "I would be honored to stand beside you in such a way," he replied, his voice low and sincere. "Together, we can challenge the expectations laid before us and carve our own path." Isadora felt a rush of exhilaration at his words. The thought that perhaps they could create something new and beautiful amidst the debris of societal constraints filled her with an unyielding spirit. But the journey ahead would not be easy, and she knew that defying the norms would take immense courage from both of them. The officiant, hesitant but intrigued by the unfolding drama, cleared his throat. "It seems we have a decision to make," he said, glancing between them. "If both of you are willing to forge a new path together, we can certainly reframe the ceremony to reflect your intentions." A wave of relief washed over Isadora as she realized they could rewrite the narrative of their union. "Yes," she affirmed, her voice stronger now. "Let us embrace this moment as a declaration of our commitment to each other, a commitment built on respect, understanding, and love." The atmosphere in the chapel shifted from one of tension to one of hope and excitement. The guests watched, their expressions a blend of astonishment and intrigue. Isadora's heart soared as she felt the Duke's hand grasp hers, a comforting and reassuring touch that ignited a sense of solidarity between them. If this emotional journey resonates with you, share it with someone who appreciates heartfelt tales. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story, she thought as the realization of their shared commitment settled in her heart. The officiant smiled, encouraged by their resolve. "Then let us begin anew, shall we?" he proposed, and the room buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose. The ceremony was no longer a mere formality, it was a celebration of their choice to love freely, of their mutual determination to defy the expectations that sought to bind them. As the vows were recited anew, Isadora felt every word resonate within her. They were no longer just declarations of duty, they were promises of partnership and devotion. With each vow spoken, she felt the shackles of societal expectations begin to fall away, replaced by a newfound sense of agency and power. The Duke turned to her, his voice warm and sincere as he spoke his vows, promising to cherish her spirit and to support her dreams. Isadora's heart swelled with joy, and she knew that together they could forge a path that was entirely their own. The audience watched in rapt attention, witnessing the birth of a new kind of union, one that was as revolutionary as it was romantic. As the ceremony unfolded, Isadora felt a sense of liberation wash over her, knowing that the future awaited them, filled with possibilities. The weight of expectation had been replaced by the lightness of love, and she was ready to embrace every moment of their journey ahead. As the atmosphere shifted dramatically in the chapel following Isadora's declaration, a flurry of emotions swept over the room. Gasps of disbelief mingled with murmurs of admiration as the guests processed what had just occurred. The Duke stood by her side, a mixture of surprise and admiration etched on his features. Isadora's heart raced as she felt the weight of the moment settle in. This was not merely a wedding but a revolution against the constraints that had governed their lives. The officiant, still recovering from the shock, attempted to regain control of the situation. "This is most unusual," he stammered, glancing nervously at the gathered nobility. "But perhaps it is for the best. If both of you are committed to this new path, we can certainly adjust the ceremony to reflect your intentions." With every word, Isadora felt the shackles of expectation begin to loosen. The thought of redefining her union, of stepping into a partnership based on mutual respect rather than obligation, sent a thrill through her. "Yes," she affirmed, her voice clear and unwavering. "Let us embrace this moment as a declaration of our commitment to each other, a commitment built on trust, understanding, and love." The tension in the chapel transformed from one of anticipation to one of hope. The guests, now captivated, leaned forward, eager to witness this bold new venture the couple was embarking upon. Isadora caught a glimpse of Evelyn, whose eyes shone with pride and encouragement, and it ignited a fire within her. She realized that she was not alone, she had the support of those who truly cared for her. The Duke turned to her, his expression softening. "Then let us begin anew," he said, a smile breaking through the seriousness of the moment. "I promise to honor your spirit and to support your dreams as we navigate this journey together." With renewed purpose, they exchanged vows that reflected their shared vision, each promise resonating with authenticity. The words they spoke were no longer mere formalities but true declarations of their intentions. Isadora felt her heart swell with every vow, knowing they were forging a union that would not only challenge societal norms but also uplift one another. As the officiant guided them through the ceremony, the atmosphere transformed yet again. Laughter mingled with tears of joy as the couple's sincerity radiated throughout the chapel. For the first time, Isadora felt free to express her hopes, her fears, and her dreams without the fear of judgment. If this emotional journey resonates with you, share it with someone who appreciates heartfelt tales. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story, she thought, feeling a connection to those who might one day hear their tale. The audience was enraptured by the authenticity of their vows. As the Duke promised to cherish her spirit, Isadora felt a warmth blossom within her. She realized that, for the first time, she was stepping into a partnership that allowed her to remain true to herself while also embracing the love of another. The room buzzed with excitement as guests exchanged glances, some nodding approvingly while others whispered in disbelief. "I vow to challenge the confines of tradition alongside you," the Duke added, his voice steady and powerful. "Together, we shall redefine what it means to be united in this society." Isadora's heart raced at his words. The thought that they could face the world together, hand in hand, ignited a spark of hope. They would not simply be a couple following the rules laid down by their ancestors, they would be pioneers, charting a new course for love and partnership. As they exchanged rings, a tangible symbol of their commitment, the guests erupted into applause. Isadora felt the Duke's hand envelop hers, a reassuring gesture that signified their alliance against the world. The clinking of glasses and the sound of laughter filled the air, creating a joyous cacophony that celebrated their union. In that moment, Isadora understood the power of defiance in love. They were no longer just a duke and a lady bound by duty but two individuals who had chosen to embark on a journey of self-discovery and mutual respect. Her heart swelled with pride and anticipation of what the future would hold. The officiant, now fully engaged in the moment, concluded the ceremony with a flourish. By the power vested in me, I declare you husband and wife. You may kiss each other." As their lips met, the world around them faded away. It was a kiss filled with promise, a promise of adventure, laughter, and love. The guests erupted into cheers, and the chapel reverberated with the sound of joy. Isadora couldn't help but smile, knowing that the love they had chosen to embrace was one that would inspire others to break free from their constraints. As they stepped out of the chapel, a new reality awaited them. Isadora took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. The sunlight streamed down, illuminating their path as they emerged into the world beyond the chapel doors. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand, ready to redefine their lives and the lives of those around them. The journey was theirs to create, and with each step, they would continue to inspire others to live authentically. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and let us know your favorite moment in the comments below. Stay tuned for another beautiful story at the end of this video. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the newlyweds, Isadora and the Duke stepped into their future hand in hand. The world outside the chapel was abuzz with excitement and disbelief, but within the confines of their hearts, they felt an invigorating sense of freedom. The weight of societal expectations that had once burdened them now felt lighter, as they embraced the opportunity to redefine what love could be. Isadora glanced up at her husband, the Duke of Harrington, and saw the same spark of determination in his eyes that had ignited her own courage during the ceremony. "We did it," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the jubilant noise of their guests. "We really did it." The Duke smiled, a mixture of pride and joy lighting up his face. "And now, my dear Isadora, we shall forge our own path," he replied, his tone brimming with conviction. As they made their way to the grand ballroom for their first dance as a married couple, Isadora couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. It was not just a celebration of their union but a declaration of their intent to challenge the norms that had dictated their lives for so long. The laughter and chatter of their friends and family filled the air, a vibrant tapestry of voices that united in celebration. She could feel the warmth of their support, a powerful reminder that they were not alone in their quest for authenticity. Upon entering the ballroom, Isadora and the Duke were met with a flurry of applause and cheers from the gathered guests. The ambience was alive with music and light, a perfect backdrop for the momentous occasion. Isadora's heart raced as she took the center stage with her husband, ready to embark on the first dance of their married life. The orchestra began to play a soft, melodic waltz, its notes weaving through the atmosphere like a gentle breeze. They began to sway gently, their movements initially tentative but soon growing more fluid as they surrendered to the rhythm of the music. Isadora felt the Duke's hand on her waist, guiding her with a strength that reassured her. Each step they took felt like a promise, not just to each other but to everyone watching, an affirmation that they would support one another in defying convention. The murmurs of their peers faded into the background, and all that mattered was this moment, this dance. As they twirled and spun under the glittering chandeliers, the world outside their bubble seemed to vanish. The Duke leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear as he whispered, "Are you ready for what comes next?" Isadora met his gaze, her heart swelling with emotion. "I've never been more ready," she replied with a determination that mirrored his own. Their dance was a celebration of their individuality and their shared commitment, a fusion of two spirits that had once felt constrained by the expectations of their society. Isadora felt liberated, her fiery spirit ignited with the knowledge that she was no longer just a pawn in the game of society, she was a participant in her own life, choosing her destiny. If you're enjoying this tale of love and sacrifice, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this, she thought, knowing that their journey could inspire others to embrace their true selves. As the dance came to a close, the applause erupted once more, and Isadora blushed under the attention. The Duke took her hand and raised it, a gesture of triumph. "Let this be a lesson to all," he declared, his voice loud enough for the guests to hear. "Love does not conform, it liberates and empowers." The crowd erupted into cheers, some raising their glasses in salute to the couple, while others wiped away tears of joy. While they basked in the celebration, Isadora's mind drifted to the future. What would it hold for them? What challenges awaited them as they walked this uncharted path? Yet, with the Duke by her side, she felt ready to face anything. They would confront societal norms together, hand in hand, and perhaps inspire others to do the same. As the night wore on, the couple mingled with their guests, sharing laughter and stories, enveloped in a cocoon of warmth and acceptance. Isadora felt a renewed sense of purpose, realizing that their story was not just about their marriage but also about the ripples they would create in their community. They would be the beacons of hope for those who felt trapped in the confines of expectation, encouraging them to embrace their true selves. The evening concluded with a spectacular display of fireworks, illuminating the night sky with brilliant colors. Isadora stood beside the Duke, her heart swelling with pride as she witnessed the awe on the faces of those around her. This was just the beginning of their journey, and as they watched the fireworks, she whispered a silent promise to herself. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she would always choose love, authenticity, and the courage to stand against societal norms. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and let us know your favorite moment in the comments below. Stay tuned for another beautiful story at the end of this video. With that, Isadora and the Duke turned to each other, sealing a promise that would transcend time, a promise to love fiercely, to live authentically, and to inspire others to do the same. Together, they would create a legacy of love that would echo through the halls of history, a testament to the power of defiance and the beauty of true partnership.